All right, so today we're going to be going over my 11.5 build, which is inspired by the only good thing that has ever come out of the FBI, which is their HRT rifle. So we're going to go tip the butt on this guy and explain everything that I did to it, where I deviated from being, clone correct and whatnot, and what my intent for this build was. So let's start with the inspiration. The inspiration, of course, was the FBI HRT build, but I wanted to change it up a little bit. The intent for this build was always to be a lightweight competition gun so that I could use it during my two-gun events, my short-range rifle events, as well as just overall training, having a lighter, more compact gun that I can train with, and also something that I could just keep in my car, my truck, to have as a truck gun. I wanted to keep it as lightweight as I possibly could without sacrificing any durability. So as you can see, a lot of this is some quite durable stuff. So we're gonna go tip the butt on this and explain everything that I did to it, where I deviated from the clone, and why I deviated from the clone. The goal was never to make this a perfectly 100% clone correct build. I could care less about the FBI or their feelings. But let's get into the gun. Let's start into the upper receiver. So up top, we have the Surefire RC2. The reason I went with this guy is just because of its tried and true reliability. It lasts a long time. I've seen these cans up to 100,000 rounds. So that's part of the reason I went with that, but also it's just sheer, blunt force durability. I trust this can with my life, and I honestly will probably have it for the rest of my life. Underneath it, we have the Surefire 4-prong flash hider. The reason I went with the 4-prong is because it's just a little bit less pingy, it's a little less annoying, and it's honestly more aesthetically pleasing. I'm not gonna say that I didn't factor that into this, but it's also clone correct to the FBI HRT build, at least some of them. Up top here, I have the Cloud Defense Rain 3.0, again, capped off with my light cap. This is a 125,000 candela flashlight, I believe. If I'm wrong, I'll put the correct number up here on the screen. I wanted this, for the most part, honestly, because it's green. And that's gonna be a vibe amongst this entire build. The reason I went with this flashlight was because it is green, but also because it's incredibly high candela. It's super durable too. Although, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not a fan of this switch. It does not have a momentary on the switch part. It does have a momentary on the cap, which is cool, I guess. But you get that momentary there, but up top here, you have to click it, which is honestly kind of annoying, but that's all right. Up here on the upper receiver, I do have a Daniel Defense front sight post with a CAC Knights Armament rear sight post. These are my irons, just as backup. Honestly, I don't know why I run them. I just had them lying around and I decided to stick them on here. I'm one of those people, I'm never gonna buy iron sights, not willingly anyway. Up top, we have the Geissele Mark IV handguard that is true clone correct to the FBI HRT build in OD green. This is probably my favorite rail I've ever had on any rifle. It's super lightweight, super durable, and it has the sauce. Underneath it, we have an 11.5 Geissele chrome-lined cold hammer forged barrel. And this barrel I chose because it's probably gonna outlast me. Probably not, actually. The reason I went with that is just because I wanted something that I do not have to touch for a very, very long time. I wanted a build that I didn't have to worry about and that I could just put together and leave it alone. That is my goal with the vast majority of my builds. I build it once and I just leave it alone. Getting into the upper receiver, I do have the Geissele upper receiver in OD green as well. Everything's gonna be green, just accept it. We do have the green FCD ejection port cover. So this is twin dimple, so it's pretty good, although I will say it is wildly overpriced. The only reason I have it is because everything on here gotta be green. Yeah, I do like it though, because it's metal and it's pretty tactile, and I'm currently gaslighting myself into justifying spending $50 on a dust port cover, but hey, it is what it is. But up top here, I have an Aimpoint T2. This is clone correct to many of the FBI HRT builds. T2 is just another thing that's tried, true, reliable, and I don't have to worry about. That is the course with many of my builds, like I've said. Underneath that, I do have a Scalar Works 193 mount. I like the 193 mount because it's not too skyscrapery, but it is high enough that I don't have to worry about digging down into the stock of my rifle to be able to look through my optics. So that's why I went with the 193. Covered up top here, I do have, this is like Tango Down rubber OD green cover, just to fit with the whole OD green vibe. Inside the upper receiver here, we do have the KAK K-Spec sand cutter bolt carrier group with, this has a dual ejector as well as downward vents so that it vents that suppressor gas down into the magazine, so I don't have to worry about it hitting me in the face, which if there is any other gas left, it will be blocked by my Geissele charging handle. So this is the airborne charging handle with the larger wings, and I just like nice giant handles on my charging handle. Moving into the lower receiver, we do have the Geissele Super Duty. This is the OD green version, of course. Topped off with a bad lever. I do like to have ambi controls on my ARs. You know, I like being able to control my right hand. I'm not a huge fan of, you know, maneuvering my left hand, even though, again, I do use it more often than I should. We got it safetied out with a like $15 ambi safety. It's clicky enough for me. I probably will upgrade it at some point. That's like the only thing on this build that I probably will upgrade, but only if I get like some sort of crazy deal on it. I don't really care. It works good for me now. This isn't something that I'm gonna like swear by or anything, but it works. It was cheap, and I like 90 degrees. Down here we have the Geissele. I think this is the A17 grip. I think that's what it's called. It is stippled, which is really nice. This has a lot of grip, and honestly, it's one of my favorite grips on any rifle I've ever had. Trigger, I do have the absolute best trigger that you can get in this gun, for an AR-15 anyway, and this is the Geissele SSAE X trigger with a lightning bow. This is a phenomenal trigger, so let's ghost it real quick. This guy is great. It is about a 2-pound take up, and then that break is just money. Real good. I love this trigger. This is the trigger that will be going in every single AR that I ever build, most likely. That or the LaRue MBT-2S. That is another 2-stage trigger that I'm a huge fan of. It's actually in this guy right here. So that's the skeletonized one. Another great 2-stage trigger. Now down here, I do run the Magpul T-Mags. I have had no problem with them. I've got maybe about 1,000 rounds through any one of 3 mags that I own, and they've been great. I have no issues with them. When I first got them, they did have a little bit of an issue, you know, seating into it, so I can't show you putting it into the gun, but let's listen closely. It really does not take too much effort to seat that magazine, and it's been great. I have no issues with it, and I've had no jams. Nothing's happened with these mags, and that's more than I can say about any of the metal mags that I have, if I'm being completely honest with you. Back here, moving on to the buttstock, I do have a Bravo B5 stock. This is great. It fits with the profile. I do like the angle in contrast to this guy, which is just straight. That's probably the one thing I don't like about this rifle, is that that stock is straight, but I do have that tool back here as well. I like to keep that on any rifle that has a B5 stock, because why not? I like to have tools on me. I like to be able to service my weapon whenever I can. Back here, I do have a Count Blemula OD green buffer tube, and inside of it, I have the white natural regular power Springco spring with an H3 buffer. And I found that with the carbine length gas system, which is what this is, with the suppressor, with the CAC downward vent, and the Geissele charging handle, even this gun shoots beautifully. I get bolt lock without the suppressor, I get bolt lock with the suppressor, I get constant and great feeding, and I am absolutely pleased with this build. It is phenomenal, and it is my go-to for training and my go-to for competitions, and I love everything about it. The T2 is great, the gas system is great, the buffer system is great. This is my favorite weapon. I bring this with me pretty much everywhere I go. If I'm more than an hour away from the house, I just toss this in my back seat. That way I have a rifle with me. And it's nice and lightweight. It's green, so it's a little bit less intimidating to the civilian public, which I might be gaslighting myself when I say that, but I like to think that, you know, a green, tiny little gun suppressor is just a little bit less intimidating than your big scary guns, or, you know, big black guns, or like a super militarized looking, you know, AR. So this green build is just my go-to self-defense weapon. But I use it for competition. This gun has been great, and the FBI did a phenomenal job building this, and absolutely, literally nothing else. But other than that, fuck the FBI, fuck the ATF for taking my fucking money, and twice, and I hope you liked the video. This gun is great. It is probably the only good thing that has ever come out of the FBI, so I was about to say thank you, but I'm not gonna say thank you. Hope you guys liked the video. If you did, hit a like, share, comment, subscribe, put it in your butt. I don't care what you do with it. Just make sure you do all the things. Leave a comment down below what your favorite carbine length AR-15 type style gun is. And make sure you subscribe, because if you don't, then I don't know, I'm just gonna be like really sad.